Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Zooming in on really what is thought to be some of the potential causes of overt and covert narcissism, at least as it's felt to be in the psychoanalytic community. And I want to keep this very, basically a brief overview, nothing really clinical. I am not a PhD. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody here. I am not trying to, anything of that nature. I want you to understand through my studies and through extensive focus, I want to share with you some of this knowledge, so to impart it to you, what's, very simply, what's taken me years and decades to arrive at. So, one of the feelings in the psychological community about the origins of narcissism, essentially as it's thought by Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis in the early 1900s, basically is that, there's an what they call arrested development. So there's a development that stops between an individuation between a child and their parent in the narcissist personality disordered individual. So, for example, when the parent is raising this child in the ages of 1, 2, 3, basically that child completely depends upon their parents for everything from food, shelter, nurturing, etc. And as they begin to get older into their 2s and 3s, the child is, growing towards individuation or becoming their own little person and realizing that the parent is separate from them. So when you're an infant, the infant doesn't feel any sort of separation. They feel a complete oneness, a complete connection. And when a toddler gets older, they start to realize that they have a little bit of control over their environment. And it's me, and they're trying to get a sense of their autonomy. They're trying to learn about their environment. They're trying to learn about how they satisfy their needs and what kind of power and control they have over this. So it's thought that in the narcissist personality, the child was perhaps overly satisfied in their needs to the exclusion of the adults, so that the child then goes through that toddler, into the young child and into their adolescence, feeling that their needs are more important, they are superior to that of others. In other words, the child doesn't learn to see a one-sided situation where, the mother has needs, the parent has needs, the father has needs, and that it's a give and take. So, in essence, it's more than being spoiled. It's more of what happens in the mindset or character development of that child. So the child basically then emerges feeling that nothing is more important than them. So whether this is based on environment, whether this is based on inheritance, it's really hard to say. But in essence, that's really where a lot of the origins of this narcissist personality develop. And and then they continue in their life, their adulthood, and there can be other feelings of inferiority lurking underneath that keep them kind of regressed, or what they call an arrested development, basically meaning that they feel inferior, or they feel inadequate in some sort of way. So whether if that child had experienced trauma or abuse themselves, which then created this feeling, it arises from some place. Maybe there was a sudden move where the child moved locations and then, went into their school and didn't feel competent or adequate for some way. Maybe they moved countries. I mean, there can be a number of different things that were perhaps experienced as traumatic to the individual that could then also create that inner feeling of void or inferiority. Something that they had perhaps seen in their parents that was disturbing. Alcoholism, drug abuse, sexual addiction, sexual affairs created in in the family unit, different boundary violations that created that sense of loss of self. immorality, a lot of lying or fighting or violence, things of this nature can have the same effect as well. So do realize that the narcissism does have its origins at some place, and oftentimes it's very resistant to change and really sort of therapeutic intervention, unless the person is kind of on a more mild case. Otherwise, it really does tend to proceed, into their adulthood, later adulthood, and their, older life. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.